man them come together like the torch and the wicked catch a fire. Tell you what I war. When they get to you, them try fi better and the system try fi turn them in a shatter. Tell you what I war. One Babylon highly Selassie rain down lightning and thunder. Tell you what I war. Tell you what I war. Yeah.
Stars among stars. We. Lights, camera, someone.
Carnival is a movie with women in the festival. Yes. Carnival is a movie with women in the bacchanal. Carnival is a movie with women with the pretty girl. Carnival is a movie. This one is international.
Go so with your badness. We know you're not slackness. This a Rasta business. Ooh. Run, come give me the roots and culture. Chase them vulture. Ooh. Go so with your badness. We know you're not slackness. This a Rasta business. Ooh. Run, come give me the roots and culture.
Greetings.
Yep. Greetings, good night, everybody. Good night, and welcome to the conversation.
Another day, another week.
Yes, sir.
Another day, a week. We back with you last Tuesday again. We gotta apologize. We were not here again. Apologize to the fans. You know, it was like, and again, we're all working individuals, so you know how it is. It's a bit tight, and schedules are tight. So we appreciate you being, taking that time out of your time to be here with us when we can possibly make it. But before we get into tonight's hot topics and conversation, Sherwin, bring on that disclaimer, my brother.
Yeah, and the disclaimer goes: the views, information, or opinions expressed during this program are solely those of the host, guest, callers involved in the program and do not necessarily represent the views of Majestic Music Radio, its management, or host, or advertisers. Majestic Music is not responsible and does not verify for accuracy of any of the information contained in this radio program. This program does not constitute medical or professional advice and is solely for entertainment purpose only.
Here's what we can get tailor that because we do give out some professional advice.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you gotta tell them it's up to them. You know, it's up to them. It's up to the audience.
Why you put it professional, but what you mean is that okay, listen, we put it out there. Now you do your research. So
Exactly.
in case anything, you can say, hey, I'm about to talk about this thing. Let me see if this thing is real. You know what I mean? Like we always say, do your research.
Do your research and make comparisons with what we say. See if it's false or is correct.
Exactly.
So tonight we want to go in a little bit to the importance of relationships in business. Right? Why networking is important, especially for the creatives. I think now we can go to an expansion of our conversation because I think we have elaborated for many conversations about IP laws. But let's start to go into an expansion of, let's leave out artists and music. Let's deal with the other sectors that, really need education about business and relationships and networking. Now, one of the things we have been, and I'm always grateful and thankful for, is the fact that networking is one of our strong points or strong suits in what we do. It's really the catalyst to help in any development format, because if you don't have all the information or you don't have leverage, it's always good to have individuals who understand the business, who you network with, that you can get information from, that you can get pointed from, that you can even get directions from, all right, to go in the right direction. So, networking, relationships in business is very, very important. And it's something that our creators need to look at. And what I notice now that has been happening is that people who are in videography, people who are in photography, people who are into acting and stuff like that, they're also trying to get better edified on the particular issue of how do we create, how are we building an industry and an emerging market. And Guyana is changing, as we know, on a daily.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we may have had some controversy recently with the whole gold smuggling issue, and we're yet to see how that impacts the economy. But our focus really is not on that, but really how do we create an industry for the creators. And I'm encouraged presently, based on what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, that people are getting more edified and they want to know more of their rights regarding IP.
So I kind of want to chime in there, whereby
Yeah, go
yes, we have been on the run in a sense, right? Because we have been putting in the work throughout the years, some more than others. But based on what we have been doing, and especially since we started the conversation, people have been able to reach us at a faster pace, right? And
ahead.
at least get a larger understanding of what we are about and what they should be about, amongst themselves, especially in the business. So recently, we started getting an extensive amount of calls, and
Yep,
everybody pretty much have the same concerns of what can we do? Are we doing it the right way? How could it be done? Right? What
yep,
is the cost? Because in we did spoke on forcing people into business, right?
yep,
Unfortunately, it might sound bad, but if we want to get to a positive environment in
mhm.
business, then we kind of have to, nudge he or
Yeah. We have
she
you
into
have to
that direction.
foster business. You have to foster business environments. That's how it works.
Correct. So
Yeah.
because we operate in that manner, even amongst ourselves, we are able now to reach out to other people, or other people reach out to us, right? And
Hmm.
give our services, which Sherwin like to tell us, well, hey, y'all not talking to the people, or you need to advertise more, right?
Yeah.
So even with our little bit of advertising, a lot of people still reaching out, for the
Yeah.
services that we offer.
Yep.
And that pretty much brings us around the topic of the importance of relationship in business, right?
Yep.
It don't have to be entertainment business, but any business in general, right?
Yeah.
And relationship in general is important.
That's a fact.
Um, if you wanna become somebody, a lot of people might say, "Oh, I independent." Now, that is something that don't exist, as at least from my point of view.
or or the terminology self-made.
Well, all right. Somebody had to be molding you. You can't make yourself, right?
Exactly.
I mean, unless you're talented like me, of course, but nevertheless, somebody had to be molding you. For instance, I grab a lot of knowledge from people in my background, right? When we're not on cameras, when we're not on radio, I am able to
Hmm.
have conversations with people and say, hey, we are think about this, or what you think about this? And based on what they say, I might put it into my own, little box and take what I need from that and apply it to my life, right?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure everybody have the capability of doing the same thing and have access to different people in their life that they're able to do the same thing with.
Yeah.
So the importance of relationships in business,
Different people in their life that they're able.
I can't really stress the topic itself, right? Because you can't go anyway without networking or communicating with your counterpart. even if it's your enemy in business.
Yeah, well, you know how it is.
Well, business is naturally a network because there's always some part of the business. I mean, the businessman tries to cover all corners, but most times, it ends up that you can't or you will not be better in some kind of way from with another than another business association or partner or something along the way. But you have to make sure that whatever part you're good in is your part, and then the next part. Most times it's a collaboration. If you really look at the whole thing, a collaboration of a of a on an umbrella or something. Most times that
Correct.
does the real, create that magic around, because then again to that's something that is a win-win where um when one day you might not it might not be a direct business for you, but because you put it down to the next partner that you got within the network, you might eat the food. That's
Hmm.
how business goes. You can't stop that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
So network is really really important when it comes to business.
Yeah, networking is one of the most important aspects to business because that's how you understand one your environment. Two, you get people more involved with what it is that you're doing, and you just get more involvement. That is what networking provides you with, and also it provides you with a ready access to individuals you may need to tap into for not only information, for guidance, but also for commerce, for the exchange of currency, business.
Yeah,
Mhm. So in business, it's very important to have a working network.
So, what I kind of want to know, Malachi, right? Of
Mhm.
course, I'm going to get a little bit controversial here. Why is it whereby when you approach certain people, right?
Mhm.
For instance, in the entertainment side, you approach certain people, say, hey, artist to artist, let we do a collab, right?
Mhm.
A man will feel some type of way because you may say something in a way that they haven't been able to understand in that moment,
Mhm.
right? I believe a couple of weeks ago, Binik and Isam Benzi kind of went at it, whereby Benzi, of course, we know he have been kicking up a stink in the business and kind of, getting under everybody's skin and
Yeah.
allowing them to pay attention, which is good, right? So now
Yeah.
that everybody's paying attention, in my opinion, Benzi kind of drop off on the wave that he was going, and I think that he should have kept with that momentum because he had
Mhm.
everybody paying attention at the moment, whether it be government, whether it be the creative sector, and everybody else in between,
Yeah.
right?
Whoever. Yeah.
And he was talking about the support and these sort of things, and he reached out to Binik for collaboration, and Binik pretty much responds in a way, well, a little tight right now, but we can get to the in time.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I guess that was taken wrong, and
Mhm.
Benzi lash out, right? Whereby
Mhm.
he does support the artist or the regular, and to know
Yeah.
that the artist can return a favor. You know, I mean, I would probably feel a way, right? Like you try to style me thing because who die and make you God, right? Why you think you above anybody else?
Ah. Well, I'll tell you what. In that case, it is it's easy and to figure that one out. That is as easy as it is. Um, that is ego. There's artist to artist ego, straight up. All right. Um, I don't think that the artist himself should have reached out to Binik
I was
um,
just going to get to that.
because we
Just
don't operate at the level. If we're gonna have a collaboration, it would be manager to manager,
Yeah.
and it would be from the standpoint of benefits. Because what is the benefit of me doing a collaboration with you? All right, it's to benefit both of us. One, I would be able to reach your audience, and the other artist would be able to be lifted to a higher platform because that's how it works. You couldn't be on the same level and really focus on collaborations when it's not going to be beneficial to either party. All right.
Mm.
Yeah, but
So we got to think constructively, especially in that sector, because collaborations are made for two reasons. For that reason I just stated, which is the cross, what we call the crossover issue, or it's for the issue of we have two powerful artists coming together, and we know we got something that's gonna bring a hit out of that smash together. So those are the
Mm.
two reasons
yeah, but
that that will come together.
what I'm saying, guys, is that these are things that you wanna know. Everybody's coming to the levels of being professional, taking the whole thing to career level, right? And if you're doing that, it is where you want to know that, okay, listen, I'd like to come to the table for us to discuss on a collaboration. Now, when you come to the table, it's gonna discuss percentage, um, the percentage, how who's getting more percent than who, or if it's a
No, but
fifty
that
fifty.
depends. That
Correct.
will go with who's investing money
No, no,
on
no. But
this
this is
either.
where you gotta think to the levels, because for
Yeah, iron
me,
out the bits.
like how I looking at it, right? The
Yeah.
level of professionalism that Benzi is promoting, and also the level of professionalism that I see that Beanick is trying to keep himself in that type of level.
Mm.
Because,
Well, Phoenix is more mystique.
but what I'm saying,
Yeah.
if you're actually looking at those levels, you want to make sure that, okay, we think about what it is, what's the project about, who we targeting, um, what's the where we actually putting this thing on, what's our promotional plans. All these things gotta come in order. So now when the impact comes in, okay, all right, cool. Um, who's gonna be the singer that is really taking this, and who's going to be winning from the royalties? These type of things have got
Mm-hmm.
to be talked about. But I mean, these guys it's still thinking that it's a scrubby thing. The scrubby thing is like, boy, hey, call him on and ask him off. Let me do something, and the man go, like if he's bigger than me.
Mm.
Wherewith we don't know how much levels that a mama be thinking that, bro. Me, my managers, and also the people that I'm working with is trying to push me in a direction in this way. Now you
Correct.
come and you talk to me as a friend. You know want to say, bye. We think they put a different level now. The man say, yeah, we can do it later, but no, I can't do it now. No, you right to it, you get mad. You know what I mean? But sometimes the man people is whispering, hey, listen, you cannot be doing these type of things no more. These are things that you got to take it, or you got to approach it differently. You know what I mean? But normally on the street, you don't know how to deal with this man, because we know that we was always youth men together walking on the street, coming and
Mm.
reaching one another, doing a scrubby something. You know what I mean? Everybody freestyling, whatever, whatever. Come in the studio, coming whatever, doing whatever, is all freestyle. But when you reach a certain level, it's different. So I guess these guys, they got to come down to that level and stop being from so early as an
Yeah.
artist that they ain't reached to no big levels yet, trying to create beef. Ain't no reason for beef when you're so small. Ain't no reason.
Well,
I agree with you.
well, we have been not per se advocating for um, you know, that whole idea of violence and all that kind of thing that happens in other people's industries and in their music collectively. You know, we've been advocating that, hey, we don't need to go down that direction, because if you look at the music that has lasted over time and lasted for generations, it's
Hmm.
not music that is overly suggestive. It's either the party music or it's either the love music, one out of the two, or the conscious music has lived on. So you got three um, bits of music that live on forever, basically. That would be conscious music, love songs, and party songs. Those are the songs that, in my estimation, live forever. And that's real music we're talking about.
Mm.
That's
Commercialized
where,
type of music,
yeah,
yeah.
that's where, in my estimation, our artists should be aspiring to get to that level, to that zenith, in other words, where your music is classified as, across the board, that pop music, it stays in that uh, area for a long time, for generations. All right.
All right,
As it
since we
is
on
now,
that top, sorry, but
no, sorry, as we are now, we're just creating music maybe for a 2 month span or a 3 month span, because it's just popular for a certain community and a certain area, and it done. And really, we in the music, we have to now look at what even Bounty Killer was talking about. I was watching an interview with him where he was talking about the Jamaican artist, as the dancehall artist, he was saying back in the 90s, in the early 90s, it was about topics, it was about issues. All right. It was about the society, the community. But what has happened over time now, that has kind of eroded. And instead of that focus, it's more about gal and all kinds of profanities. So we need to take it back to the social commentary which it was made for. For example, Calypso, which all of these other things came out of. It
Mm.
started social commentary. It's about social commentary. So if even rap music started with social commentary, it was about what was going on in the
what
neighborhood.
was it? Yeah, in the neighborhood, yeah.
Right. All right. So if we lose the essence of where or what this music is supposed to represent and encompass it, all right. Because even if we go back in Guyana's history, there are artists like Aubrey Cummings, all right, that has a song called Caribbean Breeze, I think it is. I'm going to recollect the name exactly, but it speaks about just the environment of the Caribbean. When you wake up in the morning, is the sound of birds, the crashing of waves on the white sands, and breeze on the mountains, and it's a beautiful sunshine. That kind of music is just like Bob Marley singing "Smile Jamaica," right? So we as the whole Guyanese community, in terms of the creative, we've got to think higher level. And in thinking higher level, we have to retool how we're approaching the industry. All right, so that the music that we put out to the audience really resonates with the audience, and they don't feel as though, well, I don't really know what they're talking about, or it is not something that I I can affiliate with. It's not something that I can affiliate with. It's not a topic that is relevant to me.
Well, that comes with a lot of creativity and a lot of
Yeah.
artistry in the sense of sitting and figuring out word for word how you can actually put together a story about maybe where you live, your area where you live, or maybe the country in the whole, maybe situations that's going on. You know what I mean? Like I normally would give um Gucci Boss a thumbs
Hmm.
up for sticking to what he believed in, which is one of the things he called kwekwe.
Hmm.
Because he came out of a society which is in Itika. If anybody knows Itika in Borabis, is one of the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
villages that was very, very deep into kwekwe music and folk music and all of that. And
Hmm.
because of the society that he was in, he actually continuously will talk about the same. Even when with his songs, he would normally try to dance to this type of beat
Hmm.
because is what's ringing in his head of being an artist. This is the love that I got. This is where my dream is to push that,
Hmm.
to inject my whole artistry into. You know what I mean? So I guess that's what is needed instead of we looking out of the country and looking at all the blings and glamour to say that yo, the song could only sound good if we sing about all these different things about, you know what I mean?
Yeah, about North American countries.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the fact is, if you're not living there and you haven't basically assimilated that culture, it makes no sense to propagate what you don't know. What makes more sense is to propagate what you do know, and that is your environment. Um, Shout out to people like Quincy Ace, for example, right?
Hmm.
For example, Quincy Ace sang a song called "Still in the Game," right? And he talk about when he was small, he and Nestor used to beat on the desk to make music in school, right? Rodwell used to puff up his chest, right? Now that everybody in Guyana could pick up on that because they know
It's a
oh,
story. Yeah.
it's a story behind what he's
Yeah.
saying. It's an experience also that he's expressing, which would be during that period. How I got in or still in the game is when I was in school. I used to be in the game with the music, so I'm still in the game. So he making reference that don't think that because when I was in school I was in the game and I now I drop off. No, I still in the game. All right. So you gotta you have to like you mentioned earlier. You gotta have a bit of creative writing. Another artist which I believe is a superstar artist, but just has not been able to wrap his mind about the particular direction he wants to go in, is an artist by the name of Isla Man. Isla Man has as much music, I think, as Natural Black. And we know Natural Black got like 15, 16 albums. You understand?
Hmm.
And Isla Man has just as much music, and we're not talking about he hasn't compiled them into albums, but he's got as much music as Natural Black, and we are sitting on an industry that could possibly make Guyana millions, then billions of dollars. But because the people who are involved in it are not understanding how we need to come together to make it work, it's taking way longer. And this is why we're talking about tonight the whole issue of relationships in business is so critical because in a few instances, myself and Martin had to step in and create, let's say, a mediation between two parties in order for the business to be understood. Because I think a lot of individuals in Guyana are having conflicts because the lack of education in the business. All right, this is why the conflict happens. It's not because they're bad people, all right, or they have evil intent. It's just that the lack of the education will then run you into a corner that then will create friction between the parties, and then an argument will ensue, and then problems will ensue. So this is why we are so adamant about educating yourselves about the business, because if you don't understand the business, then this is why it's important, as we're talking about tonight, relationships in business, because you have to make
Yep.
relationships. All right, this is how you learn. So if you don't know a particular thing, it's good to network with somebody who, in your estimation, has that information that you're looking for, and you get with that person and you get that bit of information. All right. So it's all part of the networking. So we have to understand how important networking is to what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So for the artist, it's not just the artists. We're talking about writers. We're talking about designers. We're talking about everybody in the creative field: the videographers, the photographers, the stylists, the makeup artists. because everybody has a uniqueness.
Mhm.
I don't know if Guyana realized something. You remember they had a girl in Guyana that was doing makeup called, I think it's Rennie Chester or something like that. Her name was, right? Do you know that that girl has been basically endorsed by Trinidadian makeup product line, and they have basically bought her over,
Hmm.
all right? And she works with their product line.
It
So
goes to show.
yeah, it goes to show she branded herself. She was persistent and consistent with what she was doing, and a bigger firm say, okay, well, if they're not going to snatch her up and use her as part of their marketing, well, hey, we're going to do it. you know and and I noticed that GT&T has got this competition where a lot of creatives across the boards, whether you do voiceover, whether you do acting, whatever you do, you can could go and showcase it for GT&T. I'm wondering if that's a new direction in terms of where their marketing is going to go, because I am in my estimation, it seems as though they're changing from the outward look now to an inward look, where they're looking at creators on the ground in Guyana to be more of the influencers. Excuse me, the face of the posters, the voices of the ads and stuff like that. They're going more locally branded. I
um,
think that's their drive present.
not cut to you, but GDT didn't had a jingle competition before,
Yeah, yeah. They used to
Mm.
have a jingle competition.
so they're
Yes.
now putting on more in the sense of acting and all of that with the
Yeah.
I believe maybe they're going Guyana Got Talent or something.
So I think they had something as close to it, right?
Hmm.
But I believe their direction currently. Imagine you're one of the biggest local companies and you're not a part of the local content aspect
Yeah,
of things.
which
You
would
know how
be
bad
involved
you
with the
can look,
creative. Yeah, it looks terrible with a lot of the major companies in Guyana.
right?
It looks terrible. They're not involved with the creatives on the ground at all. Period.
Hmm. So I think this is why it's important because the way we operate, it kind of forces not just the individuals, but the businesses. And then
Yeah.
with the intentions of getting the not much the ears and the attention, but forcing the government also into doing what they're supposed to do. Because as Malachi would have mentioned, education is key. And if
Hmm.
the people is not educated and the government is not educated to the extent that they need to be, then we all not gonna get no way,
Exactly.
right? So by having these constant discussions and conversation with various people in different parts of business,
Yeah.
because the good thing about us, we're not just in the entertainment, we're in other areas, right?
Hmm.
So because we're having these discussions, people are realizing, well, hey, I got to do this, eh? Or
Yeah.
if me do it, I'm not making money,
I'm losing
right?
money.
So the fact that you may be the biggest artist, but you don't have any distribution, you may be the biggest cell phone company, right? Or service provider, but you don't have the local people supporting you or you supporting the local people, then you're serving no purpose.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
by understanding what we want, it forces everybody else to follow suit. Given that you're doing it in the right manner, because of course, back in the days, we kind of had the same thing going, but everybody for some reason went in the opposite direction. I don't
Hmm.
understand why, but we now seeing a change whereby everybody is realizing, we been seeing this red flag all the time and we just going down the wrong road, knowing
Yeah.
another man just cruising through the green line, right?
Hmm.
And you realizing I've been suffering here all the time.
Right.
Because you've been suffering all the time is what is going to make you wanna not suffer anymore and put things in place for
Exactly.
yourself, your business, and your
Hmm.
generation to come.
Yeah. because we've been losing tremendously. Um, Even the content providers who
Mm-hmm.
use YouTube, and this is stuff we've been talking about for a very long time. Um, we have content providers who they got money floating out there, but there's
Yep.
no access. There's no access to that money.
Even
So
when you're able to access it now, Malachi, based on the how much new laws that recently came out and more still being added, based on all these
mhm,
lawsuits that has been flying left, right, and center in the US against the
mhm,
major service provider like Facebook, iTunes, Spotify, and everybody else in between, because
yeah,
we have these things happening, laws are being created every single day, right?
mhm,
And we're gonna
yeah,
see constant change happening. Now, if you had to collect a 10,000 last year, now I sorry you can't collect the 10,000 no more. It's right.
mhm,
They probably gone
No,
down to 300 based on the last Congress that they had,
mhm,
right?
there's a thing about America. They they look at everything that was okay. They will lose on this particular um something that happened. No, because it is a loophole.
Mm-hmm.
See, by the next person that thinks they can get past that, that
The
is
rap.
already that's already an executive law set in place to fix
Aye.
that. Because
But
you can't lose again. You
that
know what I
is the
mean?
importance of growth and development. Once you're
mhm,
able to see faults or loopholes, as we call it, you don't
Mhm.
make changes. For instance, a little sidetrack, right? I watched a video earlier today whereby, of course, everybody know when Trump came into power last, he would have rallied around building this great wall to block out the Mexicans. But I've seen a video whereby the Mexicans got some ladder rope, right? Some rope they make it turn
mhm,
into a ladder, and they put on two bar on the top, and they scale one guy, scale this how much ever feet wall that Trump would have put in place. Hook on
mhm,
the rope like how the man the Steve Corrington survived there. Hook the hand on the fence, and then people just start shoot over. Right? Now, as we the saying, Guyana, strictly government, why is it the population?
the population, real.
The thing with Guyana now is we're now seeing influencers, but we had credible influencers way back then. We
Mhm,
just never made use of them because I remember growing up in comedy was one of the biggest thing, or kind of still is for Guyana, right? We
mhm,
had all these major comedians and we never made use of them, or most
no,
companies never made use of them. The theater guild has been in existence for how much ever years, and we haven't made use of individuals coming out, right? The young ladies from the pageants, the young guys from the different competitions, because they've been had jingle competition from since I small.
mhm,
No, well, Martin, you see, this is the thing we coming back to. If you don't have a good media coverage, strong media coverage
Mm,
countrywide, like say, all right, let's put it at this: NCN. NCN has the capability to actually captivate the whole together with one show,
yep.
right? Because of the network that they're supposed to create. Wherewith
yeah,
when a
They
live
have.
program
They have
comes
it.
on here, it can actually touch all the regions, right?
Hmm.
yep,
Simply. Now, you don't have strong programs where you actually can have these type of people that you just talk about that
Hmm.
is actually being endorsed on a regular level,
Exactly.
regular stage, and also it's not like a program that is actually bringing in people of good interest where they can actually talk. You could actually, it's like Good Morning America, bro. When Good Morning America done, it's like whatever is trending, they pick up on everything that is happening as quick as possible so that they can cover that. That's
mhm.
what is needed. We don't cover our own. We cover what we see in foreign.
No, but listen, the other morning, I was talking on radio. Um, about that very issue. I was saying the issue presently with, for example, the press association not issuing a license, for example, to for like the Guyanese critic, right, is because they, in my estimation, he has done something, and this is the dynamic that he has brought to the news in Guyana. Instead of post production work, all right,
We
what
do
the critic
live.
has done is exactly he has introduced the live component, which means while it's happening,
Mm-hmm.
it's coming to you, which is really what we call cutting edge. That is how news is delivered. If you notice, this is why CNN, MSNBC, CBS, this is why these channels exist. Really and truly, is because we don't want to know the information post. We want to know the information now,
Live and
as
direct.
it is happening.
And that's why the reason why these people is well equipped in the sense of each one of the areas or cities or wherever, there is vehicles that's waiting there every day. It doesn't mean that you're gonna be featured every day,
Mm-hmm.
or it doesn't mean that you're gonna pick up any news that they really need. But
So
whoever get it, that's it.
I think one of our major problem is the fact that we don't have enough people who really and truly understand communication,
Hmm.
right? Because if you as an individual understands communication, you would realize, well, hey, I am able to make money from anything, literally anything,
Hmm.
right? Entity like NCN would be able to say, well, in 10 different regions across Guyana, we're going to spread out 20 vehicles, 20 individuals. Now, you go out and produce your own content, bring it back to the editors, let we do the rest and put it out. If it's live,
Hmm.
send us a notification, let we know this is happening live on the ground. And this is why Critics was able to reach the point that he is, right?
Hmm.
Even though right now he still, he would have fell off on bringing the live or most of the live content. But in the height of everything, he never missed the beat. He never missed a crime scene, and you get it before the police reach there.
Hmm.
That is true journalism. When I first got into the business, I wanted to be a war journalist because I like the military life, right?
you,
So
you
I wanted to
like,
document
yeah.
everything that we see in a protest, in anything war related, right? I wanted to
Hmm.
make sure, hey, let me go out and document this. Let me go capture
Hmm.
this image in real time. Of course, we know we got a little stream we got to go through. And this is why I think I remained independent, even though I moved to the US. Because I actually started all of this here in Guyana, whereby my grandfather was one of the biggest photographers for Starbrook News.
Mhm.
So I understand or understood the business by just watching on from what he used to do, the little time that I would have spent, and the stories that I would have heard. But if you
Yeah.
understand communication in general, NCN would not be in the position they are today, whereby they create a content yesterday and this content would be playing for the rest of the week. That makes
Yeah.
no sense. When
That
crime
makes no sense.
happening, everything happening, sports happening, entertainment happening, there's so much different areas of communication that you have to cover. Now you're supposed to, but you have to cover. Even if it's boring to majority of the people, you still got to cover it. Because I remember when we went to Jamaica, in the hotel room, we had literally nothing to watch or nothing to do while we was
Yeah.
waiting, right?
Yeah.
And we turned on the TV to understand how they function. Jamaica network or the TV network that we was watching that time, which would be compared to NCN, they was playing one of the most poor quality boringest show you could ever come across, or at least in my experience. You know, and
Yeah.
them little thing that a man would say, "Hey, let me get together and do a dance," and all them 20 artists come out and sing. One of them thing was showing on the national network in Jamaica. Till the song, one of the songs stuck in our head, and the girl was singing "Reggae is my jam,"
As a
and she
jam.
was going, she was going totally off key. Which is why when we listen, like, you hear this nonsense, and we laughed about it. But she will forever be playing rent free we head. You understand? If Guyana would step out of their comfort zone and do the things that people want to see, we already laughing at each other. Why not capture all of them? All of them live stream from events. Guyanese people be in the comment section the most, talking the most nonsense. But we love it. Put that in the late part of entertainment when nobody really care. When they ain't got nothing to do, so they can come on and laugh. We got a lot of security guards working at night. I'm sure they would love the entertainment.
All right.
It's right. Early morning, we have a beautiful show early morning, but the content is not there. The energy is not there. So we lack creativity with the producers, because you can't even blame the host. But then even to the host, how are you going to sit down and present a boring show early morning, prime time?
Yeah. And a morning show is supposed to be your most vibrant, most attractive show that captivates your audience and keep them there for the rest of the day.
Exactly. Radio, they have all the radio stations connected to them, or at least majority.
Yeah, they have more
And
radio.
people now listen to them.
Nope.
Now, I can be the National Communications Network and not reaching the communication level, or lacking, for better word, lack of better word, lacking in communications. Your whole mantra just disappeared within the name itself. That don't make sense.
No, that makes sense.
And the problem is the people that running it, I don't know if it's the ego, whether it be government officials or the CEO, the head producers and content creators under the house of the National Communication Network. Whether it be ego, because we already know it's lack of knowledge. But you can't have so much negative mix up in one parcel.
Well,
right? Reach out to people.
Really.
There's hundreds of Guyanese in communications overseas. What is the use of the vice president and the ministers traveling abroad to recruit Guyanese or encourage Guyanese to, hey, yeah, come on, we doing nice. It might be a little hard for the 2 morning, but bear with we gonna make it. There's a lot of people willing to come home and struggle, so to speak, in the
because they
name
already,
of betterment.
they're already struggling in for it. So it didn't make sense.
No, but you know, if they come home, right?
Don't type of bluff nobody.
No, Olan. If they come home on the word that Prezi said, on the word that Prezi said, come home, you know them people from foreign coming home and say, oh, me president said like come home, and I come home for help out me economy, knowing they were suffering in the bottom house apartment.
Yeah, but this
but it's the look of it, right? All of that is content that they could build. No, this is how me brain working. All of that is content that you could build from Malagai.
You thinking content building? I think in reality, right?
No, but
we're not for
that
these
is reality, man.
Yeah, we know it's reality, right? But I understand what you're saying about content building. But we're talking reality about how we stay as a people. You understand? And this is why I'm emphasizing. And you alluded to the same thing. They're suffering. This is why Sharon laugh. I know what I say. They're. Why would you? I mean, you are in metropolitan country. Obviously, the impact you would have on that country is zero.
Exactly.
The only thing that country will want from you is your taxes. Right? You're a number and your taxes. That's all. No, you have an opportunity to build a nation. Right? A very young nation. We're only 50-some years old, 56, 57 years old, right? Now you have an opportunity to put down what is called a foundation for the future generation, which is your future, why would you forsake that, knowing that regardless of what image people try to put up in the US as Guyanese growing up to the US, regardless of what we know how it is, it's tough.
Yeah.
Because if Americans who were born there have it tough and they have a lot more leverage and scope than you will have in terms of the system, and we know it tough. So
Hmm.
contributing to your homeland is imperative. But at the same time, while the government is touting for people to come back, they should be thinking as we are trying to get their minds into that space of education that listen, they have people with talents that want to come home, but you don't have the necessary regime or the environment, the enabling environment for them to come in and do what they do.
Yeah,
And they're making millions, and they're
the thing
making
is
millions out of Guyana.
the thing is people will be happy to come home, and they're making a lot of money over here. Yes, it's kind of pressing with all the regulations and all that has to be mortgage and all these different things. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, a man might feel more safe to go into or go out there, do what he got to do, and also he has some kind of a right to speak or speak up for what he know is right. Or if discrimination, especially a big thing over here, I mean, if he's feeling discriminated, he can actually call. A normal man could call, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to a manager in
Hmm.
America. And the manager has to come. In
Mhm.
Guyana, they can tell you you want to talk to the manager, come back tomorrow.
No, but this is where you gotta fight for your rights now.
No,
We
no, but
know.
I'm just telling you what is the difference because the discomfort can be so
But
much
guess what?
in a more
We gonna
bullying type of
always
way.
have the we
And
gonna
one of the biggest thing that is most feared,
Mhm.
especially a lot of Guyanese that came over here and is successful, even businessmen and women, um, they they are not comfortable with the security system in Guyana. Because reason, if they end up in something that is very critical, they are not sure which way it's going to go
Mm.
because there is no guarantee that the security system is going to come full force behind me to take care of whatever it is that is affecting me while I'm in Guyana. You know what I mean? It's not to say that there's not safe areas, safe places, or whatever, but most, tell me 80% out of 20%, people will tell you why I ain't even sure if I want to go back there. Or I ain't sure if, you know, it
So
is the
this
place.
is the thing. We will always have that unless we actually make the change within them areas, right?
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
majority of the people in New York is of Indian descent, right? Coming from Guyana. Till we was able to have little Guyana. Now, if we take all of the Guyanese in New York alone and bring them back home, remember, most of them people come already from Berbice, Essequibo, or Linden, and the
Yeah.
few from Georgetown. Got enough people still there in Georgetown, people still do 'em, as from me side, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
all of them people of Indian descent, now you have to use everything to your advantage. Let me say the coolie people come back home and go on Barbies. Them people know mean going for certain stupidness. Now, if
Mhm.
all 100 people come and say, we getting in front of the NDC today for we rights, you know how
Mhm.
fast they going to fix the system in Barbies? Same thing for Linden, same thing for Georgetown. Because remember, these people coming home, they ain't got nowhere for going. They ain't got new house and thing with government giving out. They going right back to where the barn and grow.
Let me tell you
Exactly.
something. All right. Especially in the country area. You guys might have been from Georgetown. But for me, with the culture of the country area, I don't believe nobody's gonna leave here to come to do no business in Guyana that they're not guaranteed of from the countryside. Because they want to make sure that they're guaranteed one, safety, guaranteed two, that the business is gonna go through, and all of that. Because I've met especially in my job system, I've met many guys that's here for over 20 years of Indian descent and also of Afro descent. That man reached a level because they're making money, they're comfortable, they can do, they have all the benefits and everything that's happening here because of the system that they're in.
Yeah.
They are so skeptical that, bro, if I leave and go there and something stupid happen, I just put my soul, all of this that I work so hard for. You know what I
But
mean?
but
I
but
are
but,
you
but,
sure,
but hold
Sherwin,
on.
you could count them people?
Huh?
But Sherwin,
You can't
don't
count them. There's a lot. I talked to a
hold on.
little a kid, a
Hold on.
kid that is what, a kid that is only 18 today. He's an apprentice at my job. I said,
Mhm.
when you gonna go back home? Because he live all his childhood life in Guyana. I said, when you going back home and check with the family? He said, my whole family migrated. We ain't planning to go back from Puerto Rico. I said, bro, you serious? He said, no, he ain't planning to go back in no time soon. But
No,
we're
because
looking.
they are waiting until everything nice and fixed. I think critics would have
No.
said it best to an older lady who called from Canada on his program the other morning. Critics said, no, 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 no. Stay away there, not come back. We road dusty, things bad over here. We now fixing it. Don't come back. Stay where you're there. Because if you want to come back home and expect it to be like America, or be like Canada, or be like the UK, that ain't gonna happen.
Ain't
We
gonna
have to
happen.
come back ourselves and fix it. We know the road bad. First thing, the engineers ain't doing a good job. Me is not even an engineer. I could tell you, based on the drainage situation I see in America, it not been doing right. Yes, right, man.
And one of the things which you and I were discussing when we were driving down from the airport the other day was the maintenance issue.
Correct.
Now we have some beautiful highways, we got some beautiful roads being built. They're putting in some really nice drainage and stuff. Here's the big issue: if you don't have a maintenance department or a crew that constantly um, maintains that, you're gonna have some serious problems.
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue because the maintenance, the all you got to do is drive on any of the new brand highways and you can see it. Because the sand trucks are taking so much sand daily, and falling on the road and it blows to the side. What it's doing is blocking up. There are little holes or slots right next to the pavement that allows the water to run from the street into the gutter. And all of that is blocked off. It's either blocked off by garbage, bottles, plastic, and sand. So this is why maintenance is important. And we don't maintain. If you drive along all the latest highways, you're gonna see they begin to deteriorate. And they already started to deteriorate. And this is
But
based on lack of maintenance.
that's where we run away from small things like back in the day, the RDC and NDC or whatever it is. I can't remember what it is. But they were little like I could remember on the quarantine, there's a little place called Wim. They have their own place where they come out of a shop
Mm.
and they will do certain maintenance around the areas and all of that because of that being their area, they will continue to maintain. There's a budget that goes into them for all of that. They have equipment and all of that. They will continue to do that. The towns have the the mayor and town councils and whatever. They
Mhm.
normally was supposed to be having a budget to make sure that they do all these different things as per maintenance. Major work comes again when there's a real reason for, listen, there is, we cannot control it no more. Enough is enough. Well, we got to budget on this road again. After
Mhm.
number, it happens right here. It happens right in America. America got some of the sometimes New York, you driving down the road, some of the worst roads that we got to drive on. But at the end of the day, right, better be sure somewhere along the line that road is going to be maintained. You know what I mean?
Correct.
and because of the salt, different type of weathers, and all these different things. Of course, these roads damage quick.
So this is where it's important to understand the aspect of relationship, right? Because everything for me works together. Now, we building the nice fancy roads. That is good. Lack of maintenance, that is bad. Lack of creativity for the engineering, that is bad. Because as much as we have the little holes to run the water off or run whatever waste off, it is not as big enough. Right? It is not protected properly. Or in most cases, there's none at all. So because we have these mini flaws that we don't pay attention to, just like the IP laws and everything else in different areas, we don't pay attention to certain things. So we can always have a problem. Now, that would only change if I pick up a camera as a journalist today and point each and every one of them new drain problem that they putting out. If I highlight all the problems on the road, because you can't build a road today and let a big truck drive on it next week. The maths don't make sense. So we within ourselves is we own problem unless we fix it.
One of the things I wanted to mention, and I'm hope they're looking at it, is that very issue you talked about, the trucks, because you have example, you got very nice highways, yes, but are those highways built to take trucks with a certain amount of tons? And these trucks at least got at very least 12 tons, because they're packed with sand and they're moving on the highway. You could see the result of it. You could see the result of it on the East Bank.
We have no other options, bro.
No. Actually, there are other roads. There are other accessible roads. But what I'm talking about is the new brand highways that they've now created, because we see what's happening on the East Bank. Those roads are all warped and deformed and all kinds of stuff based on the weight of those sand trucks. Now, if let's say those trucks started using the inner highway, is that highway prepared for that kind of load that's going to be traversing on it? You know, those are some of the questions I would want to ask, because as it is now, the East Bank Road for me is overkill. It's serious overkill, because that's the only road that can access the Harbor Bridge.
Correct.
To get over to the west side. And as it is, all the sand trucks and construction trucks are using that very road, the East Bank Road, to get to Georgetown and further afield. All right. So what I think they really should be concentrating on as well is looking at how we create roads that are only created for example, the 18-wheel trucks, the big sand trucks, these trucks that have heavy weight. You create roads and we have the land for it. We also should be looking at, if we're talking about bringing people back, we got to look at our transportation system overall and reintroduce the train. This is why Britain in the inception had trains in Guyana, because they realized, listen, we got an agricultural region like Berbice that we need to transport a lot of commodity and produce from. The easiest way to do that, which would be less on everybody's budget, is to have a locomotive to do that.
That's what I'm saying. And from the inception, I've been having this conversation. I've been saying, if, be it which government is in power or the leaders in Guyana, because even though there's a government, there should be an opposition that is actually in there because of a lot of people that voted for them. That should be going hard to represent and instigate, saying, listen, this is ideas that we should be putting in place. Why don't we do this X, Y, and Z? Everybody's just fighting that, who's spending, who this, who corrupt, who whatever. But when the money is there, make sure it's being spent properly for whatever it is that you say you want to do.
No,
But,
but Sherwin, on
but we
that
run
point,
a-
to spend.
before we go there, we
Yeah,
run away
sorry.
from the real structure of what a country should have in order to build. We just come back to the place where we got a whole lot of money coming into your face, and the first thing you think about is going back to the same thing that you've been repeatedly done all the time. Is going back to, we gonna build school, we gonna build road, we can do hospitals, we can do hotels. It's the same normal things that is necessities of added to for business and for
That's infrastructural development. That's the simple
not,
thing.
but what I'm saying, the real structure of economy growth, wherewith you make people, as they earn, they pay back into the country so that it becomes a proper circulation, economy circulation. Because
But
if you don't have
then,
that circulation,
mhm.
not
but then what you're talking about there, Sherwin, is what I'm talking about as well, which is the enabling environment. Because without that, and again, I mentioned it on radio, not everybody is in the construction field. Not everybody is into building buildings and stuff like that. People are into other supporting sectors to these very sectors that you need. Because if you build a building, you have to bring an interior designer to really maximize that space and to make that space accommodative to what the perceived use of that building is. All right. So there are many industries that are attached to to
So the main
to the
industry.
main industries that they have. It's just that they, in order for those to function, you have to have the enabling environment to happen, and you have to have the laws. All right, because for example, an interior designer, which is higher level stuff, that has to be covered under, those are protectionist laws, the same IP laws we're talking about. So again, it's not just artists. And let's say somebody in Guyana says, listen, I have developed a really good carambola wine.
mhm.
All right. We have to think big. We have to think big. So while the government is thinking big in terms of infrastructure, agriculture, and all these other sectors, we also have to think about how are we protecting all of this value that we have. And
Yeah,
that's where the
because
focus is.
like you're saying about the interior designer, right?
Mhm.
Every interior designer, because we're with you definitely want to make sure that you have standout interior designers, right?
Yeah.
Now, if an interior designer is specialized and known for a certain type of creative in a facility, there is no way another man could walk in and say, "Boy, this thing look good. I can do this in my house."
Hmm.
The interior designer see a photograph of your house with that design, he could say, "Listen, you actually take my work and you actually used it without my knowledge." But there's no protection for that, so anybody could see anything and do what they want to do.
This,
So
this
it
this
comes
is
back to that.
exactly this is exactly why, for example, I mentioned just like how there's KFC, churches, and all that in Guyana. In Jamaica, there's Island Grill, which is authentically a Jamaican franchise. Now, one of the things that we in our environment should have been able to capitalize on and have that in the enabling environment and protection was, for example, with the fish shop that we have, all right, that provide a unique particular thing. Because in England, fish and chips is on the menu, but that's fish with potato chips. When you come to Guyana, you could have it. You could have fish with plantain, and you could have different types of fish. You could get trout, you could get bango, you could get snapper. All right, so you got variations to your fish, as well as you got a unique product, which is the plantain that we serve with it. Now, if for example, there was an enabling environment where the fish shop could have standardized their packaging. They had the unique trays with the branding of it. They had the cups with the branding on it and all of that. At one point in time, he was attempting to do that. But again, if you have to source all of that outside of Guyana and get that in the country, all of that is expense on you. All right. So the government should have been looking at how we set up an environment for these people. For example, instead of having the printers print or repackage people's books, they should be thinking of how do we print labels for products? How do we make packaging for products? Change the focus to productivity more than to copy. That's what we really need in Guyana. It's a change. And like I mentioned it at the beginning of the conversation, it's about educating the population. Because why we're running into these issues where we're not understanding where to go next or what's the next step is because we don't have the education. So then people get in conflict and friction because we're all trying to get up. But because there's no enabling environment to get up and we don't know what to do next, there's a conflict. And all of that can come to an end by educating. And by through that education, we know, okay, next step, next step, next step.
Well, like you said, the whole thing is all about getting. How do you get businesses to actually come to the place that we want them to be today?
Force them.
How we forcing them?
By having these same conversations.
Yeah.
For instance, if NCN know they can build content without content creators,
employ independent contractors. Employ independent contractors from Guyana who can provide that content.
Correct. Because this is where it's important to head the topic, the importance of relationship.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the whole sole source of one thing when there's 5 or 10 other people in the same business. Networking, remember, is important.
Yeah, it's important.
In construction, if I can call the sandman and say, yo, last minute, I need 10 trucks load of sand. What's the purpose of having a man on the phone? If I can call the blocks man and say, I run out of blocks, me building halfway right now, I trying for done before the rain come.
I need you to
What's
deliver.
The purpose of having he?
Exactly.
He's supposed to have blocks on standby, not for you, but for everybody else.
Right. That's because that kind of relationship of not because you see one person put out the sweetie stand today and getting sold out. 3 or 4 more persons should put out the sweetie stand.
Well, that's the normal thing with Guyana.
If I sell sweet, you sell biscuit.
That's what I'm saying.
Why we need to sell the same thing?
But I mean, nobody don't have that understanding, and that's something that is generally happens in Guyana. By the time a man come out here and selling dark food up the road, 3 weeks after, as long as you see they're busy buying out his dark food up the road, you can see another dark food stand on pop up.
Yep. Just on a side though, guys, just to go back to a comment I'm seeing here from Donna Stephenson. Stephenson, she says, not only lack of maintenance is doing the job properly and well done, not cheap and has to spend money every time it's damaged. It's best to spend money and do it well so that you don't have to go back and do the same job that you did to correct it in the first place. I agree, but what we were talking about exactly, the job is done properly, but what we're talking about is the maintenance, because if the maintenance of when you put an infrastructure in place, all right, it doesn't just exist in a vacuum. The environment is impacting on it. The use of the space is impacting on it. So several conditions are impacting on it. All right. So the best thing to do, instead of waiting until it's totally damaged and then you got to spend a lot of money to totally repair it, is to ensure that it's maintained. So once there's for example, the water issue with water settling on the surface of the road, you ensure that the maintenance crew make sure that The slots are all cleaned on a regular basis. So when rain falls, it runs off the road. Or else if it doesn't run off the road, we're gonna have problems with potholes coming back again on those very highways that are brand new. All right. So that's what we were talking about really is the maintenance. It's not about it not being well done because we do. I have seen them myself. We've traversed them and we've seen that yes, they have come up to international standards.
Let me
And
ask you a question to in the sense of those trucks, right?
Mhm.
Does
Yeah.
is Guyana have a law of the capacity level of
Well,
those trucks?
these are all the things we're talking about. This is why we're talking about. We
Because
have to institute laws, and this would have to do in conjunction with City Hall as well. Um,
because the capacity level, I mean, normally you want a truck to be to the level of the sides so that it will even avoid the sands blowing off on that much on the road while you're driving. It should not
mhm,
be anything past that. It should be something that definitely is a charge. Another thing I
mhm,
think that Guyana has moved away from that they should have kept, and especially like building all these new roads and doing all these different infrastructural work and all of that, they
mhm,
should be again introducing tolls, which will in turn come back as part of maintenance, a part of the maintenance, the money for maintenance in the sense of budget,
yeah.
in the
Mhm,
budgeting or the maintenance for the road. You know what I mean?
mhm.
But you seeing all these things is working for the more developed countries because they know it brings a kind of something to the people's head like, yo, bro, if I just feel like driving like a crazy up and down this road, I gotta go through a toll, I gotta pay. But you know
We
what? I gotta find a way not to go there as often as possible.
Mhm.
we also have to remember Guyana is only 58 years old.
Mhm.
And we really and truly only have one economist, right? And the man tired.
Nah, you can't say again. I got one economist.
Show me somebody else with a little more sense than Jagdio or
Listen to
close to
me.
it.
I got my own thing about it in the sense
You
of
not in Guyana.
no. We narrow no. I was living in Guyana. We narrow our
Mhm.
minds away from somebody that knows about being an economist and
Mhm.
people that actually a man with normal common sense might be better than someone that's fully educated and speaks well and say how they can do this XYZ.
Did the
Mhm.
man ever step up to the podium and voice his concerns? Does we problem in Guyana, no?
No
We
what?
ain't coming outside and say nothing.
No.
We
But
comfortable.
the problem is for me, right? If you are an economist, be it what, if you don't come to the level of where it will benefit the people, but it's just because of what's in your head as an economist, you're no good for country. If whatever you're doing as an economist is you making it work for the people in the country, that is causing a direct effect for them to benefit from, then you're a great economist. If you're just an economist because you're the one that could call the shots and move this around through the puzzle there, whatever. The others is there because they're dumb. They're just sitting back and realize, oh, by the time this man moved two moves, we confused because we already dumb. But I'm
I, I,
saying a
I think
real
you said it
good
right there.
a real good economist, right? You can't say a good economist if whatever you're doing is deteriorating and it's moving away from the people. Whatever you do, it must affect the people by 100% of what you're doing. Whatever you're bringing in, whatever companies you're bringing in, however you're doing it, it must be transparent and that it's affecting the people and
I
the
think you
economy
said it
itself
right there,
properly.
Sherwin.
Well, that's impact and beneficial.
One side of the coin knows what they're doing,
Mhm.
when the other side just literally fade away half the coin. Is right. This is where, even though let's class the entire PPP party as the good side of economists, right? Everybody, we get a little money. Everybody in government, whether they're doing as much, they pushing. All the ministers, they pushing within their space. Now we have the other side of the kind, where them guys isn't even showing up on the surface. So where are they in their space?
Well, let me elaborate there. What they should have been doing, because of course, everybody that goes into parliament getting paid from our tax dollars and from our resource dollars. All right. Now, the PPP, as it appears on the surface, is functioning and doing their part. Now, what the opposition is supposed to be doing is that all the policies and programs and projects that the government are implementing, they're the ones that are now supposed to be smart enough to say, okay, well, we may not be in government. However, we're still in government because we have to look at all the documents and also give approval.
Yeah. We can make it hard for you to get it right.
So, well, we don't necessarily have to make it hard. But what we do have to do is to ensure that if we see a project that we think is beneficial for us as all Guyanese, because you're not thinking in terms of politics at that point, you're thinking the benefit of the entire country. All right. So if you're thinking about the benefit, you're thinking, all right, for example, if you have a project like the Amila Falls hydro plant project, that will benefit the entire Guyana and further afield, you could say, okay, yeah, well, let's scrutinize the project. Not to stop the project, but let's look at for example, the expenditure of the project. Let's make sure there's no wastage, no excess, and also to ensure that the project comes off on time. All right. Where is the opposition on, for example, because all the artists and the creatives are right here in Guyana and they're struggling to get a balanced footing in doing their business. Where is the opposition to say to the government, let us take the issue of IP and look at it seriously. Let's have a tabling in Parliament. Let us bring some of the creatives in Parliament. Let them present papers or a perspective on their particular sector so that we have a greater understanding. We have more education on that issue so that the government of the day and the opposition of the day can listen to the people's perspective and say, this is something that we should look at it and chisel out a way of how we move forward. This is what's supposed to be happening.
The thing is that sometimes you sit down and you look at some of the thing that's coming out and you be like, bro, is these people really the people that is really supposed to be doing or be in the forefront for to represent people?
Well, it's clearly not. I mean, unfortunately, we
no.
haven't had any real strong leader. You understand me? After slavery, what happened? After coffee fight, after all the freedom fighters fought for something, what happened? Right? We would see in the sugar industry, the government shut off the sugar aspect, the sugar factory. Them man come out and protest, them man come out and stand up for the rights. The government said, all right, here's what happened. We can figure it out for y'all. We can give y'all some money. We can open back up the factory to capacity. We can put money behind it to have it functioning. Even though we're running at a loss, we can still do it because you know how much sugar workers came out? Rice, same thing. You know how much rice farmers came out? Now, construction is fairly new. We pretty much had, let me say, 5 or 7, if so much, real good big contractors in the past. Now everybody and the mother is a contractor. Right?
Yeah. Facts.
So that
So
area is now growing.
Contractor Malachi. Malachi had
No,
to.
no, I contracted with all we
Malachi too.
contracted the fittings.
Malachi there, and then he pick up no contract, boss.
No, we get no contract.
But
I
that
good.
is the importance of playing your position. Once you have relationships, everything's supposed to work together.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Well,
admit, without a
well,
good relationship, we failing. The government failing, the people failing, everything failing.
I don't believe. I think that I think one of the strategies is not from just one side. I'm not saying, I'm not knocking and saying that it is deliberately, but I think it's something that is just a culture, a part of the culture. That
Mm.
it's just not a comfortable sight for one man to see another man striving in this capacity and feels that he belonged there before me. So
Mhm.
for some reason, by time, okay, so like this, you would find that you take a guy, you actually building a septic tank. So we used to building a septic tank. This guy come around and he realized, oh, this is that easy to build a septic tank. And he know to do the job. He's just my boss and the contractor. All right, cool. From today, when this work finish, I ain't coming back here because I doing my
Yeah,
own
and do
job.
your own thing.
Mhm.
And it continues like that. Because another man gonna go with him, said the same thing. And then eventually the whole village or one area has
Building a
so much
backward
people
septic
building.
tank.
Yeah.
So that is our problem right there. The first man didn't take the time for actually learn the craft.
No, he
No,
didn't
no, no,
learn.
no, 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 no. You see, this is the thing. Because the system is not properly set up to make it hard for just any and everybody to come and say, I'm a contractor. The system is supposed to be like, okay, in order for you to be a contractor, like over here, in order for you to be a licensed plumber, you have to do or you have
You
to
got to
go
go
through
through
a
a
certain field.
certification program. Yeah, you got to go
You
through a
have to go through
certification.
so much in order to get there. You can't, you could turn up and say, I'm a plumber mechanic for years and years and years and making a lot of money. But because you're not a licensed plumber, you
Yeah.
actually don't have the capacity to serve that you could say, turn up on anybody and say, oh, yeah, I got everything that you need. No, where's your
Mhm.
license? I don't have it. But you know, everybody can get the same thing. See that it's not proper structure put in place so that people can live or people can say, well, yo,
I'll give you an example of that,
we
Sherman.
living properly.
Right now, there's the construction boom happening. A lot of people going into building, making blocks for sale. All right. That's all good. That's nice. That's a strategy to make money, and you're
Mhm.
doing it legitimately. However, where's the government stepping in with quality control to say, okay, no problem if you have a block factory or a block making group or a plant or whatever. But what we would need to do is before you sell your blocks, we would need to test your mixture to ensure that you ain't giving people sand, right? Your block is not 80% sand and 20%
It's
cement.
properly calibrated.
Exactly. So you've got to have a standard with what you're doing because a man they under
No, I say, hey,
empty
don't go
lot.
by he black
A
them like
man,
sugar.
no,
This
but
one they
check this
get
out.
solid black.
This is how it happens. A man they under a shed on an empty lot, and he got is like a concrete slab, and he's sunning out a set of brick blocks, and he producing blocks at the same time in a wood mold and ponging it in,
The metal
and
one
then
cheap now. Everybody got
all
it.
right, good. No, okay, that's all good, bro. I'm not knocking at anybody's hustle, but what I'm saying, the government now should standardize because you can't have. Suppose somebody goes and they construct a two-story building with blocks that are mostly sand. An earthquake happens, a tremor happens like we had the other day. You understand? Those blocks would not be able to withstand certain moving So they're gonna crack easily, they're gonna break easily, and they can compromise the structure. So we got to have, like I mentioned, one of the first things the government got to do across the board is something called price control. We have to have a price control board, because I can't walk from Turning Point to Tocqueville Corner and the price for a Canada Dry drastically changes in a block. All right, I can't go to the Chinese supermarket and pick up bread at a certain price. And when I walk in and I decide I want to tap into a local bakery, the price is double. I'm like, what? What really going on? What happened? The price of flour went up while I was taking that walk?
Yeah.
The man on strike.
No, it's the same thing that happened that we had to highlight with the Perica Stelling, where the price was $1,300, but the boat captains were telling you straight before you buy me care what they say. In other words, they don't care what the Harbor Bridge Authority is saying about the price.
So this is where why I mentioned we have one economist, because he have been packed with so much overtime that he just functioning right now. He literally cannot stop at this point. Now, if we look at, let's take Barry Jagdi out the picture. Who actually coming up with the brilliant ideas? Ali is new to the game.
No,
Who's coming up with the brilliant ideas to help Guyana?
Well, not Ramson. We know it's not Ramson. So
the finance minister been there for years, bro.
Yeah, but he been in finance, Maji.
Yeah, we supposed to have a good. I mean, I understand that he's just finance, but
to function
there should be economists or proper economists that is employed within the government.
Them in foreign, brother. Them want come back to Guyana.
The thing is, it's not only an economist that runs a country. You
gotta pay good, you know. You gotta pay good.
You have to have technocrats who
the behind the scene people is the most
systems.
important, boss.
That's what I'm talking. You have to have technocrats. Those are the people who understand the systems working. For example, Martin and I on the radio, we're talking about the PMS program, which we should have the top-down evaluation and the bottom-up evaluation. All right. Now, if we don't have any of those systems where, for example, a minister is accountable, this is why we have the problem with the issue of, for example, a PS getting involved in corruption, because you don't have checks and balances that even if the minister say, well, yes, this is what got to happen, his subordinates could go to the legal system and look at what is supposed to be their function or the SOP and say, well, nah, this is outside of what we're supposed to be doing. We ain't doing that.
We don't even have a private system. Now, this is where, again, we are failing. Me as a private citizen have the literal right to walk into any one of the ministries and demand to see what is going on in the books.
We just said?
Me as a private citizen, a taxpayer, have the right to go into any ministry and demand to audit them.
Every opposition can demand, no, you can demand.
Why?
Remember, the opposition is dysfunctional.
They have a brain to audit
they
anything.
Also have been stealing.
If you can't even calculate, you don't even know that 32 is less than 33. You're gonna calculate, you're gonna do any audit. You don't even know. Like I heard one of the parliamentarians, and it's shameful. She was calculating a week. A mother, and she said this, Mr. Speaker, if a mother has to send her child to school for a week at $300 a day, that amounts to $9,000 at the end of the week. I was like, my God, is what really going on with certain people in their maths? You mean elementary, like for standard maths? You like what? You can't calculate 3 times 5 and know that, well, 300 times 5 is not 9,000. Dude, this is and these are the people who are in parliament for Ghana. All right?
Yeah.
These are the people who are in parliament for Ghana.
Now,
And
that problem,
represent,
how do we fix that problem? The citizens don't know that we have the power to take them out of parliament.
no. The problem is, Martin, the problem with the
How
political
do you?
system is this. No, hold on. In other countries, you have to be elected regardless of whether you're in a particular party. You have to be elected by a constituent that you're representing in parliament. In Guyana, it's not so. You vote for the party, and the party will choose the individuals they put in parliament. So you can't, as the constituent, say, listen, we don't want this guy representing, we no more, take you out. Replace this idiot. We
See,
can't do that.
this is where we have to hold them accountable. Because if we continue to encourage certain things to happen, then it's we fault. Yes, right, man. If we continue to encourage lawlessness, it is our fault.
Yeah.
Because we have seen things time and time and time again that we know as regular citizens, this is supposed to be this way.
No,
This is supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
I ain't supposed to be treated in this manner. You know you're supposed to be treated in that manner. Why are you accepting it?
Well, one of the things I gotta say, the other day, I was on the road with a friend of mine. We were driving, and one of the things I love now is that the police have a different approach now because they don't know who is who, right? So you were right there too when they were asking, sir. First, let me clarify: is anybody here a police or army person, etc., etc.? They wanted to have that clear before they said what they had to say. And another incident, I noticed a police officer identified himself, gave his name and badge number, and said why he stopped us, which I thought was quite impressive. Because I'm like, for the first time, you realize, okay, why you stopping me? And I know who you are and what is your position immediately because you told me that. All right. So I noticed that there's overall there are changes happening. We can't beat up all the time and say, well, nothing is happening. Change is happening slowly, but at the same time, we can do things to fast track a lot of things now.
Exactly. That change only happen if you don't have to go boots on the ground. You don't have to gang up in front of nobody's office. You show up to parliament when parliament is happening. In parliament is live broadcasted.
Yeah.
No, but well, one of the things that I have a friend, we normally talk in a chat in the group, and he went back to Guyana after about 20 something years, and he actually said it plain. He said, it's something that we all understand that leaders is gonna do what they're gonna do. Um, they're gonna make laws and break laws that almost the whole country is not gonna like. But at the end of the day, one of the biggest problems that we have in Guyana is people in the whole, general public in the whole, do not want to learn or have the right information that's coming out of their rights and what is not their rights. At the same time, they are not they're not in that place where they want to go through process. They rather look at ways of how we can stop this as fast as possible. It's called bribery. You know what I mean? Let me deal with this thing differently and whatever. So the society has become very much so hustling type of society. So everybody feel that it's a get and go. The faster you move, money got make. You know what I mean? It's always a hustle and bustle or whatever. I mean, I understand there's not everybody is in that type of in that frame of mind, but for the majority on the road, on the go. And the same adoption has come over to the law enforcement system where, what we doing? Everybody trying to live. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
until it come to that place where people realize that we need to do things in a way that it can tell law enforcement when it's wrong to me, or law enforcement do their job and you gotta face the consequences if you break a law and
But
these type of
Sherwin, I ain't cutting you, but on that point you made earlier about law enforcement and enforcing the law. Now, if you have a case where law enforcement accepting bribes, in my estimation, you don't just deal with the perpetrator.
so you gotta deal with
You
both parties.
you deal with the enabler as well.
Correct.
Both parties are in the trouble because one,
You
he
gotta learn a
accepted
lesson.
bribe. Exactly. He accept the police accept bribe, and the person who gave it to the police is the enabler, is the person who is the enticer, and they
Right.
have to be punished as well because they're the ones offering the bribe. So they are equally as guilty.
So then it has to be a strong a strong implementation where is either the law enforcement officer hold the person accountable for trying to bribe him, or the
Or both
citizen,
people, or
or
both
the
parties get
citizen, or the
hold the
citizen
line,
hold the law enforcement officer for trying to
intimidate
solicit
for
bribe
bribe.
from him.
Correct.
So it's one of the two. That's the only way it's going to be fixed. Other than that, if you put it together, which is happening, if it comes together where both parties accept and then agree about the whole thing, it just
Mhm.
continues. It's just yeah, bro. Get him man, hey, the man good. Get the same man there. When you pass him, give him 5,000. He gonna be good. Everything all right.
But this is
And
why.
it's
This is why.
everybody
This is.
on the same box.
But this is why again, sure, we need internal investigation department, which is separate from the Ghana Police Force,
Mm-hmm.
which
Bro,
is geared
Separate from
not
specifically,
government in
function.
general.
exact,
Not function.
specifically geared for investigating police.
It don't
All right,
function.
because while the police are investigating and looking for criminals, you have to look out for those rogue officers who use the law and bend it for their own gratification to get their friends out of trouble. For example, they're on the road, they get stopped in a roadblock, they pull out a phone and they call a high ranking officer who will say, oh, the man's be partner by the man, they're legal and you understand? All of that is corruption, even if money ain't passing. That is part of the corruption. All right,
Mm-hmm.
that is part of that system of corruption that we're talking about that has to be eradicated totally because you can't call nobody when you are in an opposition. And then this is where
There is
why a lot of that is
no, but
encouraged too,
worldwide,
Sherwin.
not cutting right.
Mm-hmm.
Worldwide, there is that kind of courtesy where if you present like we present a PBA card over here
Mm-hmm.
and say, okay, this is Captain XYZ. Oh, we want to give him a call or whatever. They call him and they said, okay, this is so whatever, whatever. Okay, we'll have to give him a ticket
But
because of XYZ.
isn't that in
Or
a case where you don't have certain documentation to prove what you've said, so they can make a call and they can verify?
no, but you have to get it. You got to get the thing. If you
All
don't
right.
have that,
Mhm.
you're not obliged.
Well, you got to go through. You have to go through the process.
Yeah, correct.
You have to go through the process. That's what I'm talking about in Guyana. We have a system here in Guyana where, because I know a big boy, all right, like no,
Relationship.
I can make a call. All right,
Because you have a relationship with somebody.
right, I can make a call. But that's abuse of a relationship.
We talking about
That's abuse of a relationship because you are putting that officer in a compromising position. Because if he's making a call for you he's compromising himself and the force by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, and then the other part of it, sure, and the other side of the coin that you got to look at is this is why we need the Internal Affairs Bureau in Guyana for the police officers, because we know for a fact you can't be working for a salary at the end of the month, but you're throwing bucks every day, every day. How where you getting the money could throw bucks every day and you work for a salary at the end of the month?
This is my personal business.
No, well, the personal business. No, you don't have personal business when you work in law enforcement for a government. You don't have, there's nothing personal for you. Your accounts are open for investigation at any point because you can be, because of your station, you can be bribed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have your accounts always checked. Because how we have police officers in Guyana with 3-4 minibus and 2 car walking road and they are working traffic. How?
What?
If we had an internal investigation unit, you obviously know, well, bro, if you own all of this stuff, where are your taxes? Where are you getting this money from to purchase these
it's a regular
things?
part of the culture now, so it's most obvious.
This is what we're talking about. This is why the GRA and all the necessary arms have to be linked to a database so you could check and make sure that, hey, how you get all these things and you working at this? How your salary scale is this and you could buy all these things? You doing something else.
All of that relationship comes down to one thing.
Because in the US,
I was waiting.
In the US, you know, a police makes $72,000 a year.
Yeah.
All right, and he got certain benefits that he getting. He could go and buy a $500,000 yacht.
Yeah.
He going to jail.
He
going to jail.
You gotta ask why. How you get it?
Exactly. How are you working as a police officer with that salary and you own a mansion? How these things happening? You own Beamers and all that. How are these things happening? So we gotta look at the situation real and be logical with it. Guyana does need to have an internal police investigation bureau, which will look at officers and their conduct, because it's a serious thing. This is why people are saying, well, you know, corruption, it goes all the way up, and they blame everything on the government, because then the government is not putting the correct measures in place to ensure that I am free from you. Whatever you decide to do, the long arm and the law going to reach out and grab you for that. So people can't blame me as the government to say, oh, well, you allow that to happen. No, I had the checks and balances in place and they worked. Because once you step out of line and we can't account for this amount of money in your account, and that should be happening with parliamentarians. Because I know when I used to participate in the filming and the broadcast from Parliament, there was a bill tabled years ago, at least 15 years ago, that all parliamentarians going into Parliament had to declare their assets. It's called a declaration of assets. So they would have to state how you got what you got. And this is straight. And I want to know how the declaration of assets hasn't worked for certain people yet. Because I know certain people in the opposition that was walking in City Hall, carrying an effigy and walking around with a coffin and say they're walking Obi upon Suba. And these people in Parliament, they own mansions and all kind of thing. Now, how did they get that from moving from that state to that state?
Yeah. Like I said, what I feel is one of the greatest map or the puzzle to putting together that kind of togetherness and level of inter business with each other for it to function and work properly like it was promised. I don't know if it's still on the way and if it's still happening, but Guyana has to go digital.
Trust me.
And as long as they go digital, it's going to interconnect all agencies. You just got to punch in.
Yep.
They got to figure what's going to be your code or what's going to be whatever it is coming with. And you're going to be, even a man in a shop, in a normal shop could just do like this. Boop, 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 and pull you up. Yeah, you're good. You look like you can work with me. Yep. You got everything. I got everything on you. Yeah, blah, 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 whatever. But We far from that for sure. For some reason, I don't know.
Well, let me tell you this. One of the things we could do to bridge the gap with, how we can close a lot of this stuff quickly is stuff that Barton and I have discussed on the radio, which is forming think tanks. It's very important. Think tanks in every community is very important. Think tank in ministries are very important to create synergy within ministries because they need to work together in order to function properly. All right. They're not bodies unto themselves that operate by themselves in
Yeah,
a vacuum. They're operating in synergy with other ministries, which should be happening. And they should have think tanks in order to operate together so that we understand where we meet at a point and how we can make things much easier. How can we serve the public better? How can we provide a better service to the public? All right. That is what the focal point of it all should be. But just as we wrap up tonight, because we got to wrap it up for tonight's conversation. It's been going for a minute. Thank you again to all those people who have come on the live, contributed, send your comments and suggestions. Check us out next Tuesday as well. We got more to talk about. But the topic for tonight is really about relationships in business and networking. And it's important in order for us to really move forward that networking must happen. So again, this is where synergy in every area has got to happen. Ministries have got to come together. We have to have think tanks in order to formulate policies with the political situation with the ruling party and the opposition. Obviously, they're dropping the ball on both sides because they don't understand that as government, you got to chisel out real policies that affect the population that helps and benefits the needs of Guyanese and not just a section or a group of individuals. Understand? So it's got to be more broad based. The policies have got to be more broad based, and we got to think more enabling environment for productivity, not copying, but productivity, originality, authenticity. That's the projection. That's my thoughts for this evening.
yeah. Well, for my thoughts, closing thoughts is I just want to encourage the leaders and also the opposition leaders, right? Because there's a broad percentage that has voted for you guys and for especially for the opposition. And it's
Mhm.
time that you guys realize the reason you're there, the purpose you should be serving, and serve your purpose. Because it doesn't make sense. You sit there and always look for all the faults instead of trying to figure how we can.
Well, if they see a fault, all they have to do is come with a corrective measure.
Correct.
Well, I'm saying they don't. These are things that are not being done, but it's
You're not
more like
active.
a blog or a tout to come out and have a talking point instead
Mhm.
of dealing with it at the place and in the place it should be dealt with. Uh,
Exactly.
Another thing is I want to encourage the leaders of the country, of course. There's a lot of people that's concerned and not concerned because nothing's being done, but concerned that we want to see the best for the country, and there's always something called a third eye, and if you guys could start using that third eye and realize within your ministry what might not be going right because you're only using your two eyes and instead of realizing where the third eye should be looking at, and let us make Guyana a better place because really there's a lot of slack screws that should be tightened, you know what I mean? And because of concerns, they instead of coming out here to bang at you as a group that is coming out with a conversation, we level this thing. We say where you don't make sense, and we say where you make sense. Right? That's the level, straight and plain.
Well, I think everything that we would have touched on tonight depicts the topic within itself, because I judge everything from a business standpoint, whether it be church or anything else in between, right? And of course, relationship, whether it be being able to have a simple conversation with each other or working with each other to get something done, right, is important. And this is why we are here tonight, to make sure we understand the importance itself of working in unison. It don't matter what it is, even if it's small, we have to work together for the betterment of the country, for the betterment of ourselves, and not for you, not for me, but for the next generation coming. Because we all know we don't want to see them suffering. I think that is my 2 cents tonight.
Yep. It's a collective effort, and we all have to work towards a common goal. That's the overall concept idea. Thanks to all the listeners for being here. Check us out next Tuesday. We got more interesting stuff to talk about as well. Check us out in the morning from 8 to 11 right here on Majestic Music Radio. Make sure you download that application as well. Strictly Guyanese music. And of course, the conversation continues in the morning. We got more interesting topics to deal with. Folks, it's a blessing all the time. Sherwin, disclaimer before we leave, my bro.
Okay, the views, information, or opinions expressed during this program are solely those of the host, guests, callers involved in the program, and not necessarily to represents the views of Majestic Music Radio, its management, other hosts, or advertisers. Majestic Music is not responsible and does not verify for accuracy of any of the information contained in this radio program. The program does not constitute medical or professional advice and is solely for entertainment purposes only. While my colleagues say we do give professional advice, but of course, we want you guys to sometimes
go verify
that. So you do your research and know for sure what we're saying makes a lot of sense.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Blessings, everyone. Next time, same place.
Yeah,
respect.
Man. We out.
Up. We out.
Ooh, go so with your badness. We know you're not slackness. This a Rasta business. Ooh, run, come give me the roots and culture. Chase them vulture. Ooh, go so with your badness. We know you're not slackness. This a Rasta business. Ooh, run, come give me the roots and culture. Ooh, go so with your badness. We know you're not slackness. This a Rasta business. Ooh, run, come give me the roots and culture. Chase them vulture. Ooh, go so with your badness. We know you're not slackness. This a Rasta business. Ooh, run, come give me the roots and culture.
Stars among stars. We lights, camera, someone. Carnival is a movie with women in the festival. Yes. Carnival is a movie with women in the bacchanal. Carnival is a movie with women with the pretty girl. Carnival is a movie. This one is international.
Tell you what I want. When the Rasta man them come together like the torch and the wicked catch a fire. Tell you what I want. When they get to you, them try fi better and the system try fi turn them in a shatter. Tell you what I want.